Okay, we're live. Okay, thank you. Welcome to the other live stream. Let's exchange those letters with each other. Each other. They could read which he had written. To their congregations of the community. Community. Okay. Appear to have had copies. Interesting. Since there are no printing presses at this time, the production of manuscripts were a costly, time-consuming process, and there were less Christians throughout the world wanted copies of the documents. They seem to have done a remarkable job in making them share copies of one another. There was no need for an official agreement to which books were to be read. For the most part, the works that circulated were the writings produced by people who had founded or led the earliest churches. People such as Paul and the original disciples of Jesus, or at least people who had known Paul as original disciples. This chain of connection to Jesus and Paul would be known as the apostolic tradition. And as long as churches were copying and sharing. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. Apostolic tradition. Apostolic traditions. Sharing copies of letters by important documents and letters by Paul and the disciples. Documents. Manuscripts, documents, and letters. Documents, letters, and important documents and letters, and with other churches and with other congregations and Christians. We could do that, but it'd be a little long. Yes, I know I'm live. Okay. As long as churches were copying, sharing, and writings that still within this tradition, there was little need to decide which of these writings was worthy of being labeled as scripture. Almost from the start, however, there were voices within Christianity that were intentional with the developing tradition. For many of Paul's letters We've learned that there were people arguing for versions of the Christian faith that Paul himself rejected. These people were preaching a message that they thought was a gospel, but Paul claimed was a perversion of the gospel. See Galatians 1:6-9. Some of these alternative voices of the Christian movement probably produced writings as well. See 2 Thessalonians 2:2. But their works do not appear to have been preserved or included in the New Testament. And since the New Testament is not just a collection of early Christian writings, rather than it is a selection of those writings. The New Testament contains those works that were considered to be most representative, became mainstream and orthodox. The process through which such selections were made was complex, and there is controversy among modern scholars that judgments were made by the 2nd century. However, two developments made the question a canon and pressing one for Christians. First, there are now Christians who wanted to exclude writings of the apostolic tradition. They were not to their liking. Oh, we learned about this in class. The most prominent figure in their tradition, Sullivan, was considered to be corrupt, steeped in Jewishness, and overly concerned about physical life in a material world. Second, there were Christians in the 2nd century who began producing new writings and attributing these people that belonged to the people's circles of apostolic witnesses. In virtually every case, these new writings were copycat versions of books that had been written in the 1st century. Someone could write a letter promoting Gnostic ideas. That had been written in the 1st century. Someone would write a letter promoting, this discovered letter of Paul. Someone else would write a gospel portraying Jesus as a major suppressor of Gnosticism and claim that there was a newly discovered work by one of the 12 disciples. These books continued to be produced well into the 4th century. These anachronisms and idiosyncrasies made the fictional attributions of authorship readily apparent today, but the production of such writings did cause confusion among Christians in the first few centuries. Okay, that's apparently obvious. Of such did cause confusion. Thus, the twofold problem: on the one hand, most Christians churches wanted to only use those writings. Yeah, that's what he was talking about. It's connected to this book. Okay, let's take a look here. Look at the thing real quick. Skip Jenkins reading quiz. No, a reading quiz. What the heck, dude? I would take him again if I could for a passion about his discipline, tender-hearted. What he can say about basically everything in his field, but he always slows down his clarification answers. I expected to go and not wanting to pay attention, but he's very engaging. Oh, wow. No. Tough, greater pleasure, heavy, get ready to read. Oof, yeah. unnecessarily hard. These teaches are difficult, Nelly. Okay. Teddy talks about his class. Well, he says it was discussed in class, and you'll have to read a lot for the quizzes. Will not recommend tests, so. I'm sure he would be good as a theology major, but I absolutely hate him as my teachers. Too much homework and lectures. Chances make missing assignments and lecture days are quite blurry. His levels of expectation is great. Take another theology professor. This is not for you. I'll have to retake this in freshman year, unfortunately. But then again, that's what I get for being a knucklehead listening to my sister. Oh yeah, skip class, you won't pass. Well, it's because you skipped class. Now, yeah, this was a mistake. Why the heck did I choose Skip Jenkins as my professor? This was a bloody mistake. Yeah, I'm gonna fail this. Unfortunately. Well, that's what I get for doing dual enrollment. Man. Lord, I should have opted out. Or should have just chosen American history because Christian. Shoot, I'm gonna try, man. I'm gonna put up a good fight. I'm not just gonna throw in the towel, but if I'm doing my best and I fail, now I know. Now I would know to not choose that class. Because that would simply be too hard, but fortunately, that is not good. We are going to attempt. We're going to. We're going to do our attempt to pass this class. It'd be stupid if I just gave up in my first week. God, no. 2 years. God. Yeah, I mean, I understand how it's important and stuff, but those writings. I think reasonably connected. Tradition. On the other hand, they wanted to use all of the writings of the writings that were connected with that tradition. I guess the only way we could do this is just not to masturbate, honestly, because like if we don't do that, then we get some favor with God. At the same time, God doesn't favor, but at the same time, we wouldn't need to do that because that'd be very hypocritical. Not just ones that fit with some particular teachers, some particular preferences, no, with some preferences, yeah. With I don't know what that guy said. Ultra things, whatever that guy was saying. You can post a comment if he likes. Okay. Thus, by the end of the 2nd century, lists began to appear specifying which writings were thought to meet this criteria. From these lists, it became apparent that most of the writings now found in our New Testament were universally accepted as reliable witnesses to the apostolic tradition. 7 books, however, had a more difficult time finding such acceptance. Oh boy. Hebrews, James, 2 Peter, 2 John, 3 John, Jude, and Revelations not have any indication these books were ever denounced or rejected outright, but the more cautious church leaders seem to be reluctant to regard these as being a pair with the others. Let me look at something real quick. Moodle. Okay. Enter. Okay, why? Why the heck? Okay, let's do chapter 1. Dude, chapter 1. Lord, I'm splitting up into 2 days. There's no way I'm doing that in like. Okay, back to the PDF. Being a pair with the others. as being works that should be regarded as scripture. Eventually, however, a consensus emerged by the beginning of the 5th century over, however, of the current Testament canon of 27 books that it was well established. New conclusions regarding the canon of the Second Testament would be accepted by most scholars today. On the other hand, all the books in our current New Testament almost were deemed compatible with what can be regarded as the apostolic Christianity. There are certain basic matters of faith that would seem to speak with unanimity. On the other hand, the selection of canonical writings was not a narrow one. The illuminated diversity of opinion, the 27 books of New Testament writings present a wide variety of viewpoints, including positions that sometimes are difficult to reconcile. Indeed, if all the authors of these writings had been gathered into a single room at a given place and time, they almost certainly would have argued with each other over many matters. They have continued to be of interest to Christianity throughout the centuries. In short, the New Testament writings advance a basic unity, but also remarkable diversity. God. Okay. So talk about just in the modern, about how Christianity and stuff. Spiritual spies. Washington urges followers to reject writings that taught a version of the faith different from. I'm not going to write that down. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. God damn it. I quit. I can't do this class anymore.